Hello, and welcome to Michell Consulting's webinar series for our Michell University. Today, we're going to be working with Infor FACTS, and we're going to be talking about the inquiries. This webinar will be recorded. It will be available on our website. You can visit us at www.mitchellgroup.com to view this, as well as our other training sessions and series for our Michell University. So once again, today, we're going to be working with Infor FACTS. And for purpose of the demo, we're using FACTS version 7.7. So today we're going to talk about the inquiries. The inquiries and FACTS are a way of basically viewing information. They're ways of going in, looking at data, looking at open orders, customer balances, and so on. They give you a lot of information on one screen. This allows us to make decisions while we're working and as well as while we're entering orders. The inquiries are available in every module. So today we're just going to focus on sales order, but we will see if we go into sales order, you have a section for inquiries, and these are inquiries related to the sales order process. We can look at the customer inquiry, documents, and items, as well as catalog. If we go into our inventory, again, you will see the layout of the FACTS menus has the inquiries here. And again, these are inquiries more related to inventory control. Again, we have the item inquiry, the transfers, catalog, and so on. If we go into purchase order, we have the same. We have our purchase order inquiries. And again, these are related to purchase order accounts payable, vendors, documents, and so on. So let's go into our sales order inquiry, and let's talk about the setup and how we can customize inquiries to get the best practice while using FACTS. So I'm going to go into the sales customer inquiry here, and let's talk about the structure of the inquiries, which will work in several of these the same way. The inquiry here, which is a customer sales order inquiry, gives us a few things. We can look at, for example, blanket orders for a particular customer. We can look at hazmat information for a particular customer, open sales orders. And here you can see, for example, if we look at this order, we can take it into a line detail. So we can actually drill into the document itself, and so on. So we have all these different views that we can customize. There's also a nice functionality in all the inquiries, which is called synchronization. So if I go here to options, and today we'll discuss all these options, but let's talk about this one called synchronization. This is nice when working with FACTS because it allows you to set them up so your inquiries will synchronize with, for example, you're entering sales order entry. So now you can see that the inquiry is synchronized. If I want to stop it, I merely need to turn it off, and now my inquiries are off. So here we're going to go in and we're going to go to options, and we're going to synchronize the inquiry. So you can see now that we're synchronized. I'm going to move this up here, and I'm logged in down here a second time. So if we notice right now we're just sitting on C100, which is a customer, Southeast Industrial Supply. I'm going to go here to another login. Is what I did is I logged in again with FACTS. As we know with FACTS, we can log in up to 7 times using the same login or the same user on the same system. And it only counts for one license in the system. So typically what people do at the beginning of the day, they'll go in and they'll log in 3 or 4 times, and they can open up different inquiries. So we would, for example, I'm going to be an order entry person today, so I can go in and I would open up my sales inquiry. Then maybe I would go into inventory control. Let's open up another inquiry. Let's open up the item inquiry. And let's set that to synchronize as well. Okay, I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, and let's try to get everything to fit on the screen for us. There Here we have our customer, and we have our item being synchronized. And now we're going to let's log in one more time. And again, as long as I use the same user code, this is considered one license, so I'm not taking up any additional licenses. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to go into sales order, and I'm going to go into order entry, and I'm going to start a sales order. So we're going to bring this down here so we can kind of see everything on the screen together. So you can see right now that my sales order inquiry, let's just kind of move this a little bit here and try to get as much as we can, like that. So you can see that my sales order inquiry is on the last customer, C100, and I have this item. So if I go in here and let's say I'm going to search, or I'm going to enter a customer, I'm going to put in C122, and I'm going to tab, you will see immediately what happens. So I'm doing an order for C122, Equipment Handling Systems, and you can see because my synchronization is on, I immediately went to that customer. So again, I can look at, right now I can see I have an order for this customer. So again, it gives me a nice snapshot, and it gives me a lot of powerful information on the screen as I'm talking to the customer on the phone. Maybe he wants to order what he did on his last order. So again, I have all the information here. And the same holds true with the item. So let's just go through here. And let's go to our items. We're going to search, and we can see right now that our item inquiry is set for I-102. So I'm going to select, let's do this one here, I-115. The minute I select it, again, you'll see the information change. So now what I'm doing is I have all this information at my fingertips. So I'm set for the customer, and you can see right now I'm on the item. So as I'm talking to the customer, entering the item, I have this ability to look at pricing and so on for that. So the synchronization is a very powerful tool. With the inquiries, it allows me to do this and maintain this at all times. So let's just minimize these, and so now let's go back to the inquiry screen. Let's look at some more features. I'm just going to stop the synchronization for now, and I'm going to go here to options. So I have now the view preferences. This says, what do I really want to view? Again, right now I'm looking at everything. So if you can see here, I'm viewing blanket orders and materials, safety data sheets, and so on. But let's say I don't do that. I don't work with hazmat. I don't really work with blanket orders and so on. So I just want to remove those or not show those from the screen. What I can do is go into my options. I can go to my view preferences, and then I can do some stuff with the view preferences. I can say, we're going to take this one here, blanket orders, and we're going to make it hidden. We're going to take this one here, and we're going to hide it. So again, you can see a quick reset of the screen. Now, if I look, I don't have them on here. I can still look at my views and look at some information through here, okay? But you can see I've turned those off, so they're no longer available on the screen since I don't use them. Again, if I want to turn them back on, I can just go to my view preferences, and I can just say, let's just click hidden again to unhide it. I can also set something. So for example, I can go to orders, and I can set it to auto open. So when I click OK, it's going to automatically open. You can see here, it automatically opens that screen. The orders get automatically opened when I select it. Okay. Let's go back in. And again, if I want to turn off the auto open, all I do is highlight it, and I just click open order again. I can also set favorites. So right now you can see if we click OK, we have them in this order. We have our blanket orders and so on since we turn the information back on. So now we can go here, and let's say we want to have orders as the number one. So we select orders, and we click it as a favorite. Let's click OK. And you can see what happens now. Orders is on top. So I can set favorites. Again, if I do a lot of stuff, I just always want to have orders. That's why when I come in here, so for example, if I exit and I go back in, you can see that the orders is always coming up first. See here? So if I go here and I put in my C122, I want orders to just be the first visible one on the screen. So again, just makes it easier for me to see everything like that. I'm in my orders. Again, I can do some determination of how I want this to look. So for example, I'm starting from the document you see here, or I can actually search from the reference. I can put the reference first. I like to leave the document. Again, like we talked about, if I want to look at a particular line, I can highlight the line, and I can go to a line detail. And again, what I'm doing is I'm going directly into that document inquiry here, and I'm looking at information related to the actual document. So here's the document, and there's some line details. And again, as we know with facts, we can just drill deeper and deeper. So if I highlight this line, line 2, which is item I-145, I can go into the line detail as well. So I can see information about that item on this particular order for this particular customer in this inquiry screen. Again, I'm looking at detailed information about the item, the quantity, and all the information. Let's go back so we can see that. We can also use something called Smart Views. What Smart Views will do is they'll actually maintain every time I go into something, and will actually build the order for me. I can do manually by going into my view preferences, and let's say I did orders as a favorite. So now I want to go into, let's say, past invoices and select that as a favorite. So now I have 2 favorites. What it's going to do is set it up that way. So since the orders was the first favorite I selected and the past invoices was the second favorite, it'll do it that way. What Smart Views allow you to do is by turning this on, you really won't see a difference right now. You can see it's turned on, so it's really no different. But what Smart Views will do, they'll actually keep a little log. So let's say I was to come in and every time I came in, I would go to past sales a lot. What happens is as I go to that, that will eventually start moving its way up. The information here would actually start moving up the line. So eventually, if I do past sales a lot, that could possibly be the first spot. So what the Smart Views allow you to do is just build based on history of what you looked at. Anytime you want to reset that, it's just a matter of clicking it, and it resets. So we saw that. We can also open a view in a window, as a window. So for example, if we turn this on, what happens is, like we saw with the auto, you can see that the past sales opened up in a different window as opposed to this one. So if I click on orders, and I click options, open that view in a window, and then what happens is I've got my orders in a separate window. That's something I can also do. So you would select what you want, for example, pricing. It's going to open here. And then you can also go here and open that view, which is pricing, in another window. So that shows the actual, the different views we have. You can also look at customer notes if the customer happen to have notes. Again, you can set this up to open. And again, we can look in and we can add notes to the customer. we can also do is we have these change filters. So right now we're just filtering on here. If you notice, we're filtering on warehouse 1, all item types, and all ship tos. So what I can do is I can reset this, and I can say, you know what, we want to, every time we come in, we want to look at all warehouses. And here under our item types, you can see stock, non-stock, and uninventoried items. And we can also look at ship tos. So just by changing that little thing here now, you'll see how my view changes and my information changes. So again, this is concerned how you run your business. This can make a difference. If I'm dealing with 2 warehouses and I work for the one warehouse, I don't really want to see information on the other warehouse, so I would go into my filters and I would say I'm going to, and I can search, again, standard and facts like every other screen. I only work with Atlanta. I don't really want to work with Dallas. I don't want to see Dallas information. Just click that, and again, you can see immediately the information is updated. You can set it by here. We also have our customer sales are inquired by customer. Since I've selected C100, I can then use my arrow keys, and I can just go to my next customer. So I'm just going to go here to C101, C102, and so on. I can also do a search through here for different customers that way. And I can also set my preferences, which we'll show in a moment, on how to do that. So again, to recap what we've done so far is we've looked at the Options tab. We've talked about the synchronization inquiry by turning it on. What we do is we synchronize with other screens. You can see it automatically went to C122 because that's the last sales order I did. So we can synchronize. The advantage of the synchronization is I can have the windows in the background as I'm entering an order or purchase order open up. I can stop the synchronization here, or I can just go here and click it again. Stop synchronization. I have my views. This information here is related to what you see in this window. You can determine what you want to view. Typically, it's things you don't use. So for example, if you go to view preferences and we don't use blanket orders, we can highlight what we do not want here, and we can make it hidden by selecting hidden. We want to unhide it, we just do it again. So we can do all that information. We can set favorites. The favorites are going to determine the order. So in the example I gave, I selected orders as my favorite first, and then past orders. So you can see here, we have orders, past orders. Then the next logical one would be blanket because that's the first one on the list. But I want to do, let's say I want to do past sales as my third favorite. So all I have to do is highlight it, select favorite, and you'll see when I close this, you'll see now that the order would be here in the views. We're going to have orders, past invoices, then past sales, because that's my third favorite, and then blanket orders. So when I click, you see a quick reset, and there we have it. We have orders now as our favorite. We have past invoices as our second favorite, and we have past sales as our third favorite, and so on. So that's a way of I can just kind of organize my screen of the things I use most. I can also use what's known as smart views. Smart views are really good because what they allow us to do is have the system track kind of like a tab. So what it does, every time I start opening these windows, it starts determining the amount of time you open it, and the more you open it, the more it will it'll update, and it'll eventually move these automatically up and down the screen. If you want to reset the smart views after a while, just click that, and it clears the history, and it starts again. So we've seen that in the options. Here, we can also do the view this way, which is the same thing on the screen. So if you, this doesn't use smart or the favorites, but you can go view. Some people like this, and they want to go right to general. They like it that way, as opposed to going to here. And you can see that general is not on the screen because we don't have it set up in this view. But again, everything that's here is everything that's related. So what I tell clients to do is under options, the things that I don't use a lot of, Like, let's see our general here. Things we don't use a lot of, we don't want to see, we don't want to route them. We have maybe bottom part of the screen. But if I need to get to them easy access, I can just do this and go through that. Another thing we can do here is we can determine how we search this. So if we go here to our search, our F2, or our search, we now have, and again, this is true throughout FACTS. So every time I'm searching for a customer or a vendor or an item, I'm doing this in a sales order, a purchase order, an item file maintenance, I can change this screen around. So I can do the same thing. So by default, you can see I'm sorting by alpha. All right. I can manually do this. So let's say I want to go here and I want to search by, I want to do, say, a customer search. So now I can search by the numbers here. But let's say I always want to do that customer search. So what I can do here is in my options, I can do the same type of thing. I can go to my preferences, and here I can say, how do I want to sort this? And again, you can see I have my alpha, my contact, and so on. So I'm going to select customer. I'm going to save this as my user default. That's what this means here. Okay, so when I log in, it's going to be the user default for me. So no matter what screen or terminal I log in, as long as I log in with my user code, I will get that. I can also determine the columns that I see here. So if I click on columns, you can see here that we have, in the column, we have customer, name, city, state. So here we have customer, name, city, state. Notice we're not using these right now. These are not on the screen. What we see here is what's on the screen. So now let's say I want to after the customer, I want to put the sales territory. So what I would do is I would highlight the customer because I want the sales person territory to come after that. Then I would highlight this and I would just move this over. So now, excuse me, actually I put it on where I want it to go. So I wanted it to be first, so I highlighted the first one and I hit customer territory, so now it's the first. I click OK. I click OK. And I click OK or cancel to reset. So now I'm going to go back into F2. I'm going to highlight, and you can see what happened. Now I'm searching by, I have the customer search first, so I'm searching by customer first, and I have my sales territory as the first column. So if I put in, say, C122, I'm going to find the C122. Before, I was set for alpha search. So if I set for alpha search, and I say starts with C122, it's not going to find it because it's searching by alpha. If I type in CEN for central, it'll find it. So what I did here is I've changed that. Let's just go out and go back in. And all I do is click here. And I'm going to go to my options. And I'm going to go to my preferences. And again, I can reset to system defaults. And I also have my filtering, which we'll talk about in a moment. So again, here you can see how I set it for customer. If I go to my columns, you can see here. So I just want to take this highlight sales territory. I want to move it away from the screen. So say I want customer name. And if I want to move one of these around, like let's say for whatever reason I wanted to have the contacts already showing on the screen, but I wanted the contact after the name. So I do the same thing. I take the contact, I move it off the selected columns, and I said I wanted that after name, so I put it here, which would be after name, city and state, and then I highlight the contact and I drag it back. So now I have it after the name. So what you see are the available columns are the things that we're not using, and this is what we're using. So again, it's just a nice way to cleaning up your screen. Maybe you don't need like a second phone, so again, we can just move that off the screen. And obviously, if we use these ones, it'll highlight or move everything at one shot. So we're going to do that, and we're going to click OK. I'm going to click OK. Let's just cancel to close it so we can reset it. And now we go in and we click on our F2 or our search. And again, you can see we have the change. So now we have the customer first, customer ID first. We have the name and then the contact and so on. Again, save the filter values. Like you saw on the main one, we can actually set our filter values. So we just kind of save everything. So that's set in all our filters, whatever we want to filter in there. Okay, so how I got to that is I went into my preferences, and we set it up here. We know from working with facts how the search works, by the way, too, because right now, if we come in, we're searching the customer search, so we can do one of two things. Starts with, this would actually be the same way. So if I put in C, I get all the C's. If I put C1, I get all the C1s. C12 will start, and so on. So the more I put in, the more narrow the search is going to get, and so on. I can also do keywords. This is good sometimes, like when you're searching by a name. So let's, in this case, do an alpha search. So we have so here, and we don't really remember exactly what it is, but we want to search for a keyword. So let's say here, cowboy. We can go here and we can say cowboy, and we can do an and or. So we can do I want cowboy and another word, or cowboy or another word. The difference being is if I do say cowboy or, let's pick something here like flags. And we say go, we're going to get cowboy or flag. So we found a customer or an alpha with the word cowboy in it, and we found an alpha with flags. If we switch this to and collect go, we're not going to get anything. Because now we're trying to find an alpha, because we're sorting by alpha, that contains the keywords cowboy and flags. And since they don't do that, we don't get a search. Again, we flip this back onto or, and we click go, and we have it that way. We can also do our additional filter values, which we saw before, so we can create filters. This is nice sometimes because when you have a lot of data, and again, I'm a salesperson, so what I want to do is I want to filter because, again, I'm only concerned about my customers, and I only want to look at my information. So I can go here, and I can select, let's say I'm logged in as Infor. This is my ID. Well, let's see who, take Ronald Patton. I click OK. So you can see now they're gone because those two customers obviously don't belong to Ron. So let's just cancel that and go back in again. So again, if I click on my filters, I can actually do that here. And again, I can set or clear my filters. I'm just going to clear everything out. So I can filter that, so I'm only looking at, again, the salespeople I have. So, and we can see that by actually putting a salesperson on here. And we can also search this way. So that was here in our search. Again, keywords are nice because since we're searching, again, by customer search, we can go to our keywords. We can type in cowboy. And we'll do an or. And click go. Again, and we can see that anywhere it finds, not just a customer search. So it found cowboy in the name here, and in the name here it found flags, flags, flags. So we can actually set that up. Again, nice customization that you can do on your screens so you can see everything. We also, let's go back into that while we're in this search right here. We can do an export and a print. We can export to Excel or a flat file. This is nice sometimes because what a lot of people ask us is that, there's not like people say, well, I just need a list of all my customers, in Excel because I'm going to do something or I'm going to do a mailing. I want it outside. So what you can do is that instead of trying to run a customer list, you can go here. You can set your priorities. So you can say create your filter, and we can say let's choose retail, and let's choose our guy. We don't have any matches. So let's do retail and see how we get with this person. So you can see these are the retail customers that are assigned to that salesperson. So I have my nice little list here. And then all I got to do here is I got to export it. I can do it into Excel or a flat file. Maybe I want to do a mailing. These are my customers. I want to send something to my customers or all customers. I can then just take that into Excel or a flat file. I can put it into any other program I want and do it that way. So it's nice about that. And you have the same that holds true for printing. If I want to print this list, what you see on the screen, I can use a Windows printer. I can select one of my fax printers or just go into a viewer mode. So the export's a nice little feature for that. A lot of clients will ask that question. They'll want a modification. So just go here and just select it, and it gives you a quick way of getting the data out of fax into Excel or a flat file to be used with other programs. So let's go back here to our options. And again, we can see that. We have our help. We need help information. We can also look at help. And again, this holds true for the inquiries. Let's go look at the item inquiry. Again, you have the same information, so we're just going to go through this real quick. Let us stop the synchronization. So you can see the same thing under items. You have your same options. So you can view your preferences. Again, same concept, same window. You can set all the information here the same way we did on any other one. Okay, so let's recap quickly what we've seen today. We're looking at, let me just open up like we did before. Let's turn our synchronization on before we go through it. We can see that let's see which one, our sales order. So let's bring this up here. So what we can do is we can see the inquiries can be set to synchronize, and this is probably the most powerful way of using the inquiries. Again, as we know from working with Infor FACTS, that we can log in up to 7 times with the same login, and it only considers it to be one license. So in this case, my login is IN4. What I'm going to do is I do order entry, so I'm going to open up in the background. In this case, I have my sales order inquiry, I have my item inquiry. I could have several other inquiries opened up, and I turn my synchronization on. What the synchronization do is you can see here how we're synchronized because this order is for customer C122, so we're sitting on C122. And the item we have here, 115, and the item is 115. So if we just continue on, let's order one of these. Now we're going to go here and we're going to put in item I100, I believe is an item. And the minute I hit tab, you will notice that this is going to change. You can see here how it changed. So you can do that. If you want to change the document, just go out of here. back up a little bit. I don't know if I can get all the way back up there. Let's just do this. Let's just delete the document. Okay, so again here, if we put in our search, and just to let you know what you saw the searches on here, if I open up the search in the sales order, you can see how, again, it's tracking that information again. And I can, since I set that for my user, you notice that that's a customer search is the same for me no matter where I am. So if I'm in the inquiries, if I'm in a document, I'm doing the search that I set up. That's because here, when I set it, I saved it as my user default. So you can see that same principle and that same concept is in the system here. So again, it makes it easier for me. Just every time I work, I like to have the customer ID first. I like to have the name second. Every time for my items, I like to have the item description, maybe the item number. Again, that's my preference. So it's just nice. No matter where I go, you know, if I'm entering an order, all I have to do is log in as me, and all my settings follow me. Again, really nice. So here you can see how now our last customer was C122. Let's just easily go, and we're going to select for this document customer C102, and you'll see this will immediately change. And again, you can see that. So that's really the power of the inquiries. Most people, when they do the inquiries, they do it that way. It's just a matter of opening up when you first start, and then you can just minimize them and keep the synchronization going. Let's just minimize that. Let's just exit this one. And again, like we talked about, the inquiries are in every module. So if we go to our main menu, no matter where we go, so for example, if we go to accounts payable, we're going to have an inquiry screen in accounts payable. If we go to purchase order, and again, with our access codes, we just put in POI. It's going to take us directly to the purchase order inquiry. We can put SOI, sales order inquiry, and so on. So it allows us to do that. So again, to recap what we saw today using FACTS is the inquiries. We saw that the inquiries are a way to view, read data within the system. We can use those inquiries to synchronize, so when we're actually working, entering sales orders or purchase orders or whatever we're doing, we can have those synchronizing in the background so they're opening for us automatically. Again, more powerful for us, it gives you the information at your fingertips. If you're dealing with a customer on the phone, you can make some intelligent decisions. You can look at customers' past invoices, look at his pricing, and again, be more familiar with the items and what the customer is working with. You can customize those inquiries to fit your needs. You can customize and save as your user defaults, and they will follow you throughout the system. No matter how you log in, as long as you log in with you, no matter what computer, it will actually set it up. And again, you can customize, it's finding for, if I turn it off. You can also do the drill down capabilities. So again, in FACTS, what we're doing is we're starting at a very detailed. So for example, here we're looking at orders. I can highlight. I can select line detail. And again, I'm actually in the work order, so you can see all the information. I can look at the header information, again, detailed about this customer, his terms and so on. I can highlight a line, so I can look at item I-119 and look at line detail. I can also, with the archiving system, and we do have a webinar on archiving. Archiving is functionality of FACTS, which is really nice that we use with all our clients. Archiving allows us to save the documents. And so what we can do is we can click here, and if the item is archived, it'll come up in the archive. The nice thing about the archive, what it does, it actually saves a copy in a logical order. And what it allows you to do is view at the same time. This is very good because it saves a lot of paper and everything is electronic. As we know from working with FACTS, certain things we have to print. Like when we're going to do an update, we need to print. So if we're going to run our daily sales register and we display it or view it on the screen, we're not going to get the option to update, because we want to have a hard copy so we have some evidence and we have an audit trail. What we can do with the archiving, you can set, when you go to do your daily sales register, you can set that daily sales register to archive. When it archives, you can still print it, but more importantly, you can view it. You can do neither. You can just let it go to archive, and you can run all your updates and be done. What a lot of people do is they run the daily sales journal to an archive, they view it, kind of look at it real quick, everything's fine. They do the same thing. They archive all the postings, so it's posted. I don't have to worry about printing several pages of a report just to look at the bottom figures and then just throw it away. So I save that way, and it allows me to have everything in an archive system, so we can do it here. So that concludes today's webinar. What we talked about here was the inquiries for Infor FACTS. We see that those inquiries are available in every module, and they can be set to synchronize. Once again, this webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website. You can visit us at www.michellgroup.com to view this, plus our other webinars, and we'll continue having our webinar series for little tips and tricks and information about Infor FACTS. Once again, we thank you for your time, and this concludes our webinar today. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.